LiberalViewer presents.
So, welcome to the August 7th edition of LiberalViewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup. Thanks for joining me. I picked out 16 of the weekend's best, most newsworthy clips for what should be a really informative, fair use media criticism and political analysis show for you all tonight. As usual, my clips come mostly from the Sunday morning news analysis shows from the big five corporate outlets of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox News, the so-called corporate media here in the United States. That's the media that I'm criticizing for my fair use media criticism. You can see the two sides of the perennial topic that I'm addressing today described down in the video description. It's the 2016 presidential election. I talk about Hillary Clinton on the Democratic side, Donald Trump on the Republican side. Down in the video description, you can also see the clip list that I refer to, my sort of cryptic notes that show it's actually 16 clips and then one repeat subclip and a still image I'll be using. The repeat subclip is actually from a clip that I didn't show last week of a Hillary Clinton interview, and I'll have one clip of the Hillary Clinton interview from last week that I didn't show. I got criticized for not showing, and then also a Donald Trump clip that I didn't show, both of which became controversies that I think were kind of overblown, so it'll be kind of even-handed. I will show an overblown, actually on Donald Trump's side I have two sort of overblown controversies and of course several real controversies. There are always controversies for Donald Trump, but those are the two sides of the 2016 presidential campaign and some of the topics I'll be covering. And as usual, I like to start with political comedy. This week is the last week Bill Maher is going to be available for a month. He's not coming back till I think it's September 16th is his next show, so for those of you who like Bill Maher, this is the last Bill Maher clips for a month. For those of you who don't like him, and I've seen some negative comments about Bill Maher. You won't have to deal with Bill Maher for the next month, but I want to start with Bill Maher talking about how Donald Trump has had a really bad week. You notice the title of this video is that Hillary is surging and Trump is sinking, and it's actually more like Trump is sinking. The surge isn't that big a deal for Hillary Clinton. And some people have asked me to show kind of like what my setup is that I'm broadcasting with, and also show more pictures of Sandy. So here's Sandy setting up for before it. See, I'm not sitting in the chair yet. You can see one of my two lights there. You can see the desk I'm using. It's kind of messy, and that's where I'm sitting now. It's sort of a reverse angle of where, and includes some of the equipment I'm using. So I thought I would show you that. And now I'm going to get to Bill Maher making fun of, where do you start with all of Donald Trump's problems this week over in this clip.
I mean, Donald Trump, we've lived with this for a year now, but this was really the week of where do I begin? The feud with Mr. Khan and the Gold Star families. He said the election is rigged. He said women who are sexually harassed should find another job. He said he saw a video of money going to Iran that doesn't exist. Someone gave him a Purple Heart and he took it. And said, oh, I always wanted one. This is a lot easier. He couldn't stop feuding with the press, with his own party, with fire marshals, and a baby. A baby. And today, a hot mic caught him telling Mom's apple pie to go fuck itself. He threw a baby out. Page 1 of the politician's handbook. Babies, be nice to babies. He threw a baby out of one of his rallies, which is terrifying because it means that Trump supporters breed. It's terrible.
I like the breeding joke at the end. That's why I showed that, and it was kind of a good rundown of some of the controversies that Donald Trump got into this week. But that last one that Bill Maher was making fun of actually was one of two non-actual controversies. Some like Donald Trump scandals. I'm always talking about Hillary Clinton's email scandal, and I'm going to show how I think that became overblown this week when I get to the Hillary Clinton side. But I think actually for Donald Trump, he had two scandals that weren't really real this week. One was the claim that he threw a baby out of one of his rallies, and I actually watched that whole thing live, and I thought that was overblown. And over on CBS's Face the Nation, John Dickerson took the time to actually explain the whole threw a baby out of a rally was not accurate, and they used a Washington Post article. So here's the liberal media backing up Donald Trump on something he said, and I will also back him up after I show you John Dickerson in that 90-second clip from CBS's Face the Nation this morning here.
One other controversy this week on the Trump campaign, Babygate, began Tuesday at an event in Northern Virginia, where the candidate reacted to a crying baby in the audience.
Don't worry about that baby. I love babies. So I love babies. I hear that baby crying. I like.
But then moments later...
Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. That's all right. Don't worry. I think she really believed me that I love having a baby crying while I'm speaking.
You're supposed to kiss babies, not kiss them off. Critics drew big conclusions. Trump cried foul, though. He'd only been kidding.
The press came out with headlines, Trump throws baby out of arena. So dishonest.
Yesterday, the Washington Post backed him up. A fact check by the paper noted that Trump didn't dismiss the crumb snatcher. The mother told the Post, "I was never kicked out of the rally. She and the crying baby left the room because it's the considerate thing to do, and in fact returned to hear the candidate, the baby calm and enjoying a pacifier." Trump has been unfairly maligned here, wrote the Post. We've given Trump many Pinocchios over the course of the campaign, but he earns a Geppetto checkmark for getting at least this story right. We'll be back.
So both CBS's Face the Nation and the Washington Post went out of their way to back up Donald Trump when he said he didn't really throw a baby out of one of his rallies. And having watched that live, I have to back up those two bastions of the liberal media that are supporting Donald Trump. I guess the thing is, though, you know, Donald Trump says so many things that are controversial. The fact that one or two of them are overblown doesn't really detract from the implosion of his campaign. And this next clip I'm going to show is actually NBC's Meet the Press kind of doing the straight news version of what you saw Bill Maher do in his monologue, talking about all the controversies, all the problems that Donald Trump's had in the last couple weeks and how he's close to imploding. And I will talk about that a little more, and also how kind of the Ukraine-Crimea scandal is a little overblown after you watch that NBC Meet the Press clip from this morning here.
Here to see the Olympics begin, then Donald Trump. The Olympics have a way of taking voters' minds off of politics for a while, and maybe, just maybe, Trump uses that time as a chance to reset.
If you don't like me, that's okay. Vote for Pence, because it's the same thing.
For months, Trump has been Teflon. Now, unraveling is an understatement. Trump's campaign appears to be one gaffe away from a full implosion. Trump began the week with an attack on Gold Star parents.
I was viciously attacked on the stage of the Democratic National Convention by Mr. Khan, and I responded.
Refused to endorse the top Republican in Washington, Speaker Paul Ryan.
Does Trump's non-endorsement jab signify some lingering resentment or divide between the two of you?
Heck if I know, Jay. I'm not going to try and psychoanalyze this stuff.
Then there were reports that Trump had asked why the U.S. can't use nuclear weapons.
And I'll be the last one to use nuclear. I'll be the last one. Believe me.
Trump told USA Today that if daughter Ivanka were sexually harassed, I would like to think she would find another career or find another company if that was the case. He claimed again and again to have seen a secret video of a U.S. cash shipment to Iran that does not exist.
I don't think you've heard this anywhere but here. Iran provided all of that footage, the tape, of taking that money off that airplane.
Finally backtracking on Friday. It's all adding up to talk of a political intervention, which the campaign has denied.
It's a totally false report. We're doing well.
And Trump wasn't happy when his campaign manager pointed the finger at Trump.
The candidate is in control of his campaign.
The worst news for Trump, the polls. He's dipped below 40% nationally, and he's losing ground in the swing states he needs to win. Down 9 points in Michigan in a four-way ballot test, 13 points in Pennsylvania, 15 points in New Hampshire. Even Georgia suddenly looks competitive. Some swing state Republicans are defecting, running against him on the air.
People ask me, what do you think about Trump? Honestly, I don't care for him much.
Others even saying they'll vote for Hillary Clinton. At the highest levels of the party and even among Trump's allies, there's a feeling of desperation.
Donald Trump is the one person who can fix his campaign. And if he's going to be the issue, we're going to lose.
Trump is trying to turn the page.
Paul Ryan.
Reading an endorsement of Ryan, John McCain, and Kelly Ayotte at a rally on Friday, planning a Monday speech on the economy in Detroit. With the odds of replacing Trump on the ballot very slim, some Republican leaders are telling their House and Senate candidates it's every Republican for themselves.
If I were advising a candidate, and I used to do that for a living, the first thing I'd tell them is don't put yourself in the middle of other people's races.
I'll talk to a couple of Trump's.
So I thought Chuck Todd's report there was overall a good sum up of various controversies Donald Trump had. There was one actually in that segment that I thought was overblown where they said that Paul Manafort was blaming Donald Trump for the problems in the campaign when he said that the candidate is in charge of his campaign. And I actually saw that interview, and for the campaign manager to say that the candidate is in charge of the campaign, that's actually a way to show the strength of the candidate. You know, that's what the campaign manager is supposed to say. So I didn't quite understand that, Paul Manafort is pointing the finger at Donald Trump. If you go back and look, that was the one thing in there that didn't really make sense. And then there was another controversy that Donald Trump had this week that I thought was kind of overblown. And before I get to that, though, you notice there was some mention of the polls in there, which is really sort of the objective measure of Donald Trump doing poorly this last week or two. And I'm going to have some more coverage of the polls kind of in the middle between the Republican and the Democratic side. I have like the clips that are transitional, and they're all about the polls. And I noticed I was reading the live comments during that last clip, and I saw this one from Chaos Theory. You can see he's hoping that Donald Trump would implode and that it's more entertaining and will give third parties a chance. And you'll see that the third parties are getting to like 5 and 10%. That'll be in the polls I'm going to show in a little bit. But not so much that they're really changing the race, but that's going to be the next topic. I want to get back to this, what I thought was kind of a fake Donald Trump controversy. One of the clips I didn't show from Donald Trump's interview last week on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos was where he talked about whether Putin was in Crimea or in Ukraine. And people were saying, oh, Donald Trump doesn't know that Vladimir Putin has taken over Crimea. He thinks he's not in Ukraine. But it's pretty ambiguous from the actual clip. And when I watched it, it seemed pretty clear Donald Trump knew that Vladimir Putin had taken the Crimea, because if you watch the clip, the first person who says the word Crimea is Donald Trump, not George Stephanopoulos. And that's why I didn't take the clip. I didn't think it was that big a deal. And I will show you that clip now. And I will comment a little more after you watch it yourself. And you can tell me down in the comment section if you think I was correct that it sounds at the beginning like Donald Trump, maybe he doesn't know that Vladimir Putin has taken part of the Ukraine, or maybe he's saying when he's president, Vladimir Putin won't go into the Ukraine. That's the ambiguous part, but he definitely knows that Vladimir Putin took Crimea if you watch the clip yourself over here.
Platform on Ukraine. I wasn't involved in that. Honestly, I was not involved. Yeah, I was not involved in that. I'd like to... I'd have to take a look at it, but I was not involved.
Do you know what they did?
They softened it, I heard, but I was not involved.
They took away the part of the platform calling for provision of lethal weapons to Ukraine to defend themselves. Why is that a good idea?
Look, I have my own ideas. He's not going into Ukraine, okay? Just so you understand. He's not going to go into Ukraine. All right, you can mark it down, you can put it down, you can take it anywhere you want.
Well, he's already there, isn't he?
Okay, well, he's there in a certain way, but I'm not there. You have Obama there. And frankly, that whole part of the world is a mess under Obama, with all the strength that you're talking about and all of the power of NATO and all of this. In the meantime, he's going away. He takes Crimea. He's sort of,
But you said you might recognize that.
I'm going to take a look at it. But, you know, the people of Crimea, from what I've heard, would rather be with Russia than where they were. And you have to look at that also. Now, that was under, just so you understand, that was done under Obama's administration. And as far as the Ukraine is concerned, it's a mess. And that's under the Obama's administration with his strong ties to NATO. So with all of these strong ties to NATO, Ukraine is a mess. Crimea has been taken. Don't blame Donald Trump for that.
You've said
and we'll do better, and yet we'll have a better relationship with Russia. And having a good relationship, maybe, and having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
You've said you have no investments in Russia.
So that's the whole Donald Trump clip that created this controversy that supposedly Donald Trump didn't know that Vladimir Putin had taken part of the Ukraine, taken Crimea. But the first person to say Crimea in that clip, I made sure before I played it for you, is Donald Trump. And when he says at the in the first 30 seconds or so of that clip that Putin won't go into the Ukraine, it could very well mean that he was saying he won't go into the Ukraine when I'm president. He's already done all this stuff when Obama's president. But anyway, that's the clip I didn't show last week, and I think it got overblown into a fake controversy. Not that Donald Trump hasn't said plenty of things that deserve to be controversial, but that just doesn't happen to be one of them, in my opinion, and so I wanted to point that out. And like I said, I'm going to have a similar clip on the Democratic side when I get to the topic of Hillary Clinton. I'm going to show a clip from her Fox News Sunday interview last week that I actually think was edited by Fox News to make it more controversial. And as far as I've seen, no one has really pointed that out. So stay tuned for that. But I still have a couple more clips on the Republican side before I get to the polls in the middle and then to the Democratic side. The second to last clip on the Republican side is another one from ABC. This is This Week with George Stephanopoulos. This week, not last week, like that Donald Trump clip I just showed. This is Martha Raddatz, the co-host of ABC's This Week, talking to former acting CIA head Mike Morrell, who has come out and said, he supposedly has this nonpartisan position and he has like nonpartisan national security experience, whatever. And he says Donald Trump is a threat to national security and is an unwitting pawn of Vladimir Putin, that he's been played by Vladimir Putin in kind of an interesting way. He said this in an op-ed, and Martha Raddatz teased him up to repeat it on ABC this morning over here.
Support of Hillary Clinton, saying Donald Trump would be a poor, even dangerous commander-in-chief, and referencing his comments about Vladimir Putin, you said, in the intelligence business, we would say that Mr. Putin had recruited Mr. Trump as an unwitting agent of the Russian Federation. Recruited an unwitting agent of the Russian Federation? Do you really believe that?
Yes, I do. And look at it from Putin's perspective, right? He's a trained intelligence officer, worked for the KGB, very talented, manipulated people much smarter than Donald Trump. He played this perfectly, right? He saw that Donald Trump wanted to be complimented. He complimented him. That led Donald Trump to then compliment Vladimir Putin and to defend Vladimir Putin's actions in a number of places around the world. And Donald Trump didn't even understand, right, that Putin was playing him. So in Putin's mind, I have no doubt that Putin thinks that he's an unwitting agent of the Russian Federation, although Putin would never say that. From Mr. Trump's perspective, right, he simply heard Putin compliment him. He then responded by complimenting him. He never thought that he might be being played.
Okay, let's talk about.
So that's kind of an interesting theory. You can let me know what you think down in the comment section. I notice I have like 130 or so live viewers, or for my people who are watching the recorded show, you'll see when I get to this Hillary Clinton clip from last week, I'm actually responding to one of the comments from the recorded show viewers. So I enjoy reading the comments both from the live viewers and the recorded show viewers. And I think, I don't know, that seems like, you really think that Vladimir Putin complimented Donald Trump to get him to be an unwitting pawn of the Russian, because of his KGB experience? He's like recruited him by complimenting him because he's such a narcissist. Trump is such a narcissist that Putin knows he'll respond to that type of recruitment. I don't know, that I don't know, maybe someone who knows more about spycraft than I do. I watch spy shows like Homeland and The Americans, but it's not like I have any real-world spying experience. So you can let me know what you think down in the comment section. That seemed like a provocative theory, but I don't know how much truth it has. You can let me know what you think, like I said. And I want to move on to the last clip on the Republican side. This is actually a Republican senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton, who is kind of a radical right senator. His like most famous moment in the Senate since he was elected in the last 2014 midterm elections, I'm pretty sure, his most famous moment was when he wrote a letter to the Ayatollahs in Iran telling them, don't trust Obama. He can't really follow through on this deal he's purporting to make with you. Well, even that radical right-wing Republican is not willing to really wholeheartedly support Donald Trump. You'll see this is an interview he did over on, he did one on Fox News Sunday, and then also, I think he also did one on CBS's Face the Nation, but this is the Fox News Sunday interview where you'll see Chris Wallace talks to him about all these foreign policy gaffes and questions whether he's ready to be commander-in-chief. And Tom Cotton actually doesn't really say he's ready to be commander-in-chief. He pivots to an attack on Hillary Clinton, and then in the follow-up he says, well, he'll have Congress there. And that's kind of what he said over on the other show, that he'll have Congress as a check on his power, which doesn't really give you a lot of confidence in Donald Trump as commander-in-chief, who really has a lot of confidence to begin with. But here's Tom Cotton showing he can't really give full confidence to Donald Trump as commander-in-chief in this clip.
You've been pretty quiet about Donald Trump beyond the fact of saying that you support him, given his fight with the Khan family, given his comments about Russia, given the fact that he has at least raised the possibility we wouldn't come to the aid of some of our NATO allies if they were to come under attack. How do you feel about Donald Trump's readiness to be commander-in-chief?
Well, Chris, I've had my disagreements with Donald Trump. I've stated them clearly in the past, and I will in the future. And Donald Trump ought not have said some of those things that you just recounted. But Hillary Clinton ought not have done the things she's done. She is in no small measure responsible for the deaths of 4 Americans in Benghazi, and she lied to the faces of their families. She set up an unsecure server in which she used classified information that put Americans at risk, and then she lied about it for a year. And then just last week, Chris, on your show, she's lying about lying. All week long since you interviewed her, she's been telling lies about her lies. Donald Trump ought not have said some things, but Hillary Clinton ought not have done so many things that she's done.
But in 30 seconds, if I may, are you confident that Donald Trump is ready to be commander-in-chief?
I am confident that if the American people elect Donald Trump as president and a Republican Congress, that this country will be safer in the world, our streets will be safer, and we will be more prosperous.
Senator Cotton, thank you. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day on the Cotton family farm in Arkansas.
Thanks, Chris.
So if you're wondering what that background was, it's the Cotton family farm in Arkansas, because he's the junior senator from Arkansas, and that was one of the more radical right-wing senators in the Senate, not really wholeheartedly claiming that Donald Trump is ready to be commander-in-chief, which shows you just how much difficulty he's having. And so now I'm going to move to these transitional clips that are about the polls, and I'm going to start with another piece of political comedy. This is the second clip from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, from the Bill Maher monologue. I actually have a couple other clips from the whole show, but this is the second monologue clip where he starts off talking about how Donald Trump may finally be sinking in the polls, and then explains the way that the Republican establishment is kind of panicking about it, as I will discuss after you watch that clip over here.
So, to no one's surprise, sort of, Trump's poll numbers are finally sinking. It turns out in the general election, unlike the Republican primary, you need readers. Anyone can win a popularity contest when the other choice is Ted Cruz. It's like if there were only 2 pets at the pound when you went to adopt, and one was an eel. You know, you'd adopt the orange-haired dog with the comb over. That's not... The Republican establishment, what's left of it, is in total panic mode. They are trying desperately to find some way to close the hole in the candidate's head where the stupid comes out. But...
Close the hole in the candidate's head where the stupid comes out. That's a trademark Bill Maher phrasing. I think I've heard him say that before for other, maybe it's just Donald Trump. Maybe that's his trademark Donald Trump way of describing the way Donald Trump's stupidity comes out. But I thought that some of those jokes were good, and then that part at the beginning where Bill Maher said that Donald Trump's problem is, you know, he did well in the Republican primary, but now in the general election he finds out he needs readers. And that's one of the things that I took from all the coverage of the polls I saw this morning, is that Donald Trump is doing well with white voters without a college degree, but Republicans traditionally beat Democrats in white voters with a college degree. Romney beat Obama in white voters with a college degree, but Hillary Clinton is actually a couple points ahead of Donald Trump in white voters with a college degree. And so there is some truth to what Bill Maher said in the beginning of that last clip, where he's finding out he needs readers, if you think that people with a college degree are more likely to be readers. And I'm going to first show this kind of roundup of the polls from NBC's Meet the Press. This is Chuck Todd talking both about the NBC Wall Street Journal poll and some of the other polls that came out this week that show, you know, maybe Hillary Clinton isn't surging, but Donald Trump is definitely sinking, as you can see in this clip.
To see the Olympics begin, then Donald Trump. Sorry,
of course, wrong clip. Sorry, the correct clip is over here.
We in the media thought we had seen the beginning of the end of the Trump campaign, and time and again, we were wrong. Republican primary voters would bail him out, either with a win in a primary or a boost in the Republican primary polls. But the primary is over. And after a head-shaking week for Donald Trump, it may be safe to pull out an old political bromide. You can't win the presidential race in August, but you sure can lose it. Our new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll out this week gives Clinton a 9-point lead, 47-38. What's more, Clinton still leads by 9 points even in the four-way matchup when you include Libertarian Gary Johnson and Green Party nominee Jill Stein. Just this morning, a new Washington Post ABC poll puts Clinton ahead by 8 points, 50-42, and her lead remains 8 points in the four-way race. These national polls are hardly alone. This is what the real clear politics graph of polls looks like. Beginning in July, you can see Trump did get a bump from his convention. That's the little red hump there. But Clinton now leads by an average of 7 percentage points, and you can actually see the graph open up. The news is bad for Trump in state polls, too, where Clinton has pulled ahead in battleground states, double digits in a couple of them. But the biggest news came on Friday, this Georgia poll that had Clinton up 4 points. Democrats haven't won Georgia since 1992. I can report this morning, by the way.
So, yeah, Hillary Clinton is up nationally. She's up in the battleground states, most of them, and in some states that aren't even supposedly battleground states, like Georgia, as you saw at the end there. And I've talked about polls in the past that they're kind of like weather forecasts, that especially more long-term weather forecasts, the farther you are away from the actual day, the less reliable they are. And so when you look at a long-term weather forecast, it tells you something about the day, you know, about what may happen on election day or on the day in question, but there's a good chance it's going to be wrong, and there's actually almost 100% chance it won't be exactly what's been predicted. So it's kind of a guess, and it's a snapshot, and that's why I'm going to show you several clips on different polls. But before I get to the different polls, I want to show one more NBC Meet the Press clip where they actually talk about the internals of their polls, which show, this is kind of what I was saying before, that Hillary Clinton isn't really surging. It's more like Donald Trump is sinking, because his scandals are kind of worse than her scandals, but her scandals are still pretty bad, and her honest and straightforward numbers are, as has been discussed week after week after week, also very bad, as I will discuss again this week after you watch that clip here.
This month's NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. As we showed you earlier, Clinton leads Trump by 9 points among registered voters, 47-38. But this poll is not all good news for Clinton. There are some significant weaknesses for the Democratic nominee and surprising areas of strength for Donald Trump. On personal characteristics, Trump leads Clinton by 13 points on the issue of being honest and straightforward, 35-22. More than half of voters, 56%, give Clinton a negative rating on this. In fact, it's where she's consistently struggled this entire campaign. And on the issues that concern voters the most, Trump's attack on the Khan family really is no bigger of a concern than Clinton's email controversy or her paid speeches. In fact, all three of those controversies rank higher for voters than concern over Trump's failure to release his tax returns. And we should note, both of Clinton's issues were bigger concerns to independent voters than either of Trump's. So, why is Clinton so far ahead? She dominates in two key characteristics: knowledgeable and experienced to do the job. She leads 57-23, and having the right temperament to be president. Look at this. She leads by more than 30 points over Trump, 48-16. A 9-point lead for Clinton is significant, but overall, both candidates are heading into the fall with the same problems they've each been struggling with throughout this entire campaign. And right now...
So that's the NBC poll, or NBC Washington Post poll, and you saw the internals there, and basically it's showing, like I said before I showed the clip, that Hillary Clinton has a lot of problems, but Donald Trump's problems are so much worse, especially on whether he's ready to be president, whether he has the temperament, whether, he's not, too crazy, and that's where Hillary Clinton is winning right now, that even though most people in the electorate want change, they think that Donald Trump is too unreliable a change, and they think that Hillary Clinton is more experienced and ready to be president, and that's where she's still winning the election. And if Donald Trump keeps acting crazy, he's going to continue having these problems. And I want to contrast that poll a little bit, or actually confirm it more than contrast it with the ABC poll that shows some of the same things you saw from NBC. And I talked about how polls are kind of like weather reports. So if you see multiple weather reports from independent sources that come to the same conclusion, that gives you some more confidence that they're reliable. And you'll see ABC came to some of the same conclusions that NBC did, and I will discuss that after you watch that clip here.
Slide. The top line, 50% of registered voters say they'd vote for Hillary Clinton, 42% for Trump. That 8-point gap is in line with several new national polls that show Clinton surging. Trump's worst numbers in a while follow what may be one of his worst weeks ever. It all started with that fight with the family of a fallen soldier. What looked bad on the news looked pretty bad to some Trump supporters we found in Pennsylvania. One of Trump's worst numbers, 73% of Americans and 59% of Republicans disapprove of how he handled the dispute with the Khan family.
It definitely makes me wonder if he could handle being president.
Trump needs to win me back a little bit before I'm ready to pull that lever for him now.
Those questions about his fitness to serve are serious. Our poll found 61% say he is not qualified. Just 31% say he has the right kind of personality and temperament. It's an argument Hillary Clinton and her allies are pounding home.
A man you can bait with a tweet is not a man we can trust with nuclear weapons.
That line from her convention speech, reframed this week by the president himself.
Just listen to what Mr. Trump has to say and make your own judgment with respect to how confident you feel about his ability to manage things like our nuclear triad.
Back in Pennsylvania.
Do you trust him with the nuclear codes?
I don't know. No, I don't know. He's a little, I guess I do. I mean, he's not that stupid that he would just send something off without thinking about it, I think. I don't know.
Hillary Clinton has her own problems with trust. In our poll, 66% say Clinton is too willing to bend the rules.
So I may have short-circuited it, and for that, I, will try to clarify.
And with her email server back in the news, there's an opportunity for Trump
if he can stay on message.
I think that the people of this country don't want somebody that's going to short circuit up here. Okay? Honestly, I don't think she's all there.
With all these.
And I'm going to have more on the whole Hillary Clinton short-circuited email scandal in just a minute. But having shown the NBC poll and then the ABC poll and how they kind of confirmed each other in several different ways, I want to move on to the CBS poll, which is their battleground tracker poll. And in some ways, this is the most important poll. They're talking about the battleground states where the election is actually going to be decided. And it's actually closer there, but there are some, not really that close, and there are some states that are in play that shouldn't necessarily be battleground states. And first I'll show the CBS clip, and then I'll show the 11 traditional battleground states in a still image. But first, here's John Dickerson on CBS's Face the Nation talking about Nevada and what are the other ones? Oh yeah, Virginia, Nevada, and Arizona. And Virginia and Nevada are battleground states, but Arizona not so much, but it's still pretty close there, as I will discuss after you watch that clip.
News battleground tracker has Hillary Clinton up by 12 points in the key state of Virginia over Donald Trump, 49 to 37%. Her running mate, Tim Kaine, is a former governor and now senator from that state. In Nevada, the race is much tighter. Clinton is up 43 to 41%. Arizona has been reliably Republican in recent years, but Donald Trump is up now only by 2 points, 44 to 42%. The state has received a lot of attention this week due to Trump's initial refusal to support John McCain in a tough primary.
So you can see there that Donald Trump is actually pretty close to Hillary Clinton, just barely up in Arizona, and that's not one of the traditional battleground states, although it was pretty close in Nevada, which is a traditional battleground state. And apparently the Clinton campaign is not even going to advertise in Virginia anymore, because you saw they're like 12 points up. They think they don't even have to advertise there. They can move to places like Georgia, which isn't a traditional battleground state. Here's the here's the 11 battleground states split into the Rust Belt and the Sun Belt. And CBS showed this, and then they talked about how Donald Trump is doing better in the Rust Belt and having problems in the Sun Belt. He's having problems in Florida. He's having problems in Virginia. Even North Carolina is up. You saw Nevada is still pretty close, and I think Colorado is still pretty close. But all those Rust Belt states, that that's where he's supposedly going to take over for the missing Sunbelt states, and he's not doing that well in Ohio. He's not doing that well in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. So those are the 11 battleground states. And, over the last couple weeks, I've talked about whether you should vote for Trump or Hillary or one of the third parties. And I've said that if you live in, a state like I do, California, that is not a battleground state, it gives you more freedom to vote for a third-party candidate without throwing the election to Trump or, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. But if you live in one of these 11 battleground states, I think you are crazy if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. If you live in one of these 11 states I'm showing on the screen right now, please vote for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. These are the ones that are going to decide the election. And this is where the third-party candidate could actually be a thrown-away vote or throwing the election to Donald Trump if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton. So those are only 11 states. That leaves you 39 states if you're voting in those. You're not really in a battleground. I don't know, maybe Georgia you might be, or there might be some new battleground states. But anyway, I wanted to show that, and that's the last clip, that's actually a still image on the issue of polls and the transitional clips that are both on the Republican side and the Democratic side. So now I want to show the clips I have on the Democratic side and what's going on with Hillary Clinton's campaign. And I'm going to start with a couple clips on email scandals. First, on the Democratic National Committee email scandal, I want to show a clip from Julian Assange's interview on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher last Friday. Actually, if you look down in the video description, you can find the entire Julian Assange interview, and I'm only going to show about 4 minutes of it. And there's some interesting parts before this, and then especially after the clip I'm about to show, Julian Assange actually kind of attacks Edward Snowden as being ungrateful for the help that he got from WikiLeaks, and Julian Assange actually says that Edward Snowden is like kowtowing to the Obama administration, trying to get a pardon before Obama leaves office, which that seems like trying to read Edward Snowden's mind, and it's kind of a baseless accusation. But I'm not going to show that clip. I'm going to show the clip where Bill Maher both starts and ends by asking Julian Assange to hack Donald Trump, which is kind of strange. And at the end of this clip, you'll see Julian Assange actually say, "What we're trying to hack Donald Trump's tax returns." And later he clarified that, saying it was just a joke. But in the middle, he's kind of dodging and not really answering Bill Maher's claim that he's being a tool of Vladimir Putin and actively trying to hurt Hillary Clinton and get Donald Trump elected, as I will discuss after you watch that 4-minute, 20-second clip right here.
Hacked from the Trump campaign. I mean, obviously we know these came from Russia, and we also know that you do not like Hillary Clinton at all, as does not Vladimir Putin. So it looks like you are working with a bad actor, Russia, to put your thumb on the scale and basically fuck with the one person who stands in the way of us being ruled by Donald Trump.
Actually, just before I came in here, we thought we'd do a little search on our files, and I do notice that a William Maher gave a Clinton-affiliated entity $1 million. Now, it's a William Maher in L.A., where at the time that money came. Perhaps you would like to comment. Is that you?
Yeah, I don't think you have to look in your files to find that, Julian. I gave Obama $1 million. I made it public. The whole point of it was to make it public so that people in 2012 would understand that the game had moved to the $1 million level after our Citizens United ruling. I wasn't trying to hide it. I was trying to publicize it. I don't know what the point is.
Is there another $1 million going to Hillary or equivalent?
Fuck no. But no. I can't give $1 million every time somebody runs for president. But okay.
I don't know. 2008, I could understand. 2012, I'm not so sure about that. But okay, let's tackle these criticisms. We did not publish full credit card numbers about donors. It's the last 4 digits, just like your 7-Eleven receipt. It's very important for tracking money laundering, and there are serious allegations of money laundering and FEC violations in the data released. Our materials, the materials that we release, are pristine. We're really good at this. We have a 10-year perfect record of having never got it wrong in relation to the integrity of what we've released. There's no allegation, even from Debbie Wasserman Schultz or any of these people, that any of the material is not completely valid and true. What there is a conflation between our publications, DNC leaks, and an extensive variety of hacks of the DNC and, frankly, other organizations over the last 2 years, possibly by state actors. That wouldn't be at all surprising, but also a number of others. DNI Clapper, the head of all U.S. intelligence agencies, James Clapper, said last Friday that the media was hyperventilating. They couldn't make an attribution, let alone as to motivation. And even that was just about the hacks. It's not about the material we released. But we know the source of the material, right? Everyone knows the source of what we published. The source is the Democratic Party. The source is Louis Miranda, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, et cetera, et cetera.
All right.
I know you defended atheists, but included in there by the discussion with Louis Miranda is a plot to frame Bernie Sanders as being an atheist and not as being Jewish.
First of all, it wasn't a plot. Somebody mentioned it, and nobody did anything about it. Let's move on to the other part.
We don't know whether people did anything about it or not. What we know was a discussion.
Okay, you've worn me down on
this
issue.
We can separate it a little bit. We can separate a little bit of the other case that I mentioned before, where Louis Miranda gave an instruction to staff to pump out black propaganda against Bernie Sanders.
All right, so why don't you hack into Donald Trump's tax returns?
Well, we're working on it.
Okay. All right.
So, I don't know there. You can let me know what you think. The part there where at the end Julian Assange says that they're working on hacking into Russia or into Donald Trump's tax returns to see if he's obviously had any investment from Russian oligarchs. That's one of the allegations that's out there. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks sent a follow-up statement after that interview with Bill Maher saying that Julian Assange was just joking. They're not really trying to hack into Donald Trump's tax returns, although they are encouraging any whistleblowers. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to show that clip. But you also saw Julian Assange sort of dodge the question there about whether he was helping Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump to the detriment of Hillary Clinton. And some people have said that that Julian Assange is so anti-Hillary that he has some October surprise planned where there's going to be some other leak that's going to be damaging to the Hillary Clinton campaign, which, you know, I hope that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange would at least be even-handed, and there might be some damaging leaks for the Donald Trump campaign as well, but you can let me know what you think down in the comment section. Now I'm actually going to show you a clip from Hillary Clinton's interview on Fox News Sunday about the other email scandal, the server she had in her basement, and whether what she told the FBI and what she told the American people was truthful. One of the scandals on that this week came from the interview Hillary Clinton did with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday last week, and I didn't even take a clip of her talking about the emails because I thought it was not really rising to the level of a scandal. And I had a critical comment from one of the viewers of my recorded show saying that it was liberal bias on my part, and I thought that the scandal that came out of it, she gave a press conference on Friday, and she said that she had like short-circuited. You saw that clip in the ABC Martha Raddatz report that included their polls that I showed a few minutes ago, where Hillary Clinton was talking about how her answer to Chris Wallace was short-circuited because she was really talking about her truthful answers to the FBI, and people mistakenly thought she was saying that everything she said to the American people was truthful, even though it turns out some of the things she said were not exactly truthful about, whether she never sent or received any classified material. But when I was watching it last week, it seemed to me that she didn't say anything exactly untruthful to Chris Wallace, and that's why I didn't show it. I didn't think it was a relevant clip to show in the clip roundup that I showed last Sunday. And when I went back and took the clip this week, it seems to me like Fox News Sunday actually edited her answer to make it more controversial, to make it seem like she was saying that James Comey, the director of the FBI, said that her answers to the American people were truthful, when she's clearly saying her answers to the FBI were truthful. And that's, of course, more important because it's a crime to lie to the FBI. It's not a crime to lie to the American people, unfortunately, or actually, fortunately, if you believe in the First Amendment. But when I was watching the clip from Fox News Sunday from last week of Chris Wallace's interview with Hillary Clinton, there's actually an edit in there, and I think the edit is actually what they do is they change the camera they're using so that you can't really tell that they've cut part of the answer out. It's something I saw them do to Hillary Clinton in a video I made in 2010 that actually has archival footage from going even further back than that. It's called Fox News Gives North Korean Nukes the Iraqi WMD Treatment. And if you're watching as a live show, I didn't put the link down there, but I'll do it for the recorded show viewers. And they do the same thing where they change the camera they're using to show the interview to hide the fact that they're editing part of the interview out. And I think it's pretty clear in the first, 30 seconds or 45 seconds of this clip from last week, the Chris Wallace interview with Hillary Clinton, they switch cameras to hide the fact that they're cutting out part where somehow Hillary Clinton, I think, is talking about that she was truthful in her answers to the FBI. And it's pretty clear from her answer that that's what she must have said, because she contrasts it to saying it's also consistent with what she said to the American people. And this whole clip is about a little under 3 minutes long, and then I'll show like the key 18 seconds as a repeat subclip afterwards. But here's the entire context, 2 minutes 51 seconds. This is Fox News Sunday, Chris Wallace's interview with Hillary Clinton that became controversial, but watch carefully for this editing that I think is unfair to Hillary Clinton that no one has really reported over here.
Yes.
I want to ask you about just one aspect of them, and that's what you told the American people.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified materials. I am confident that I never sent nor received any information that was classified at the time. I had not sent classified material nor received anything marked classified.
After a long investigation, FBI Director James Comey said none of those things that you told the American public were true.
Chris, that's not what I heard Director Comey say, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to, in my view, clarify. Director Comey said that my answers were truthful and what I've said is consistent with what I have told the American people. That there were decisions discussed and made to classify retroactively certain of the emails. I was communicating with over 300 people in my emailing. They certainly did not believe and had no reason to believe that what they were sending was classified. Now, in retrospect, different agencies come in and say, well, it should have been, but that's not what was happening in real time.
But in a congressional hearing on July 7th, Director Comey directly contradicted what you had told the public.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true.
Secretary Clinton said I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
He directly contradicted what.
Well,
and let me just he not only directly contradicted what you said, he also said in that hearing that you were extremely careless and negligent.
Well, Chris, I looked at the whole transcript of everything that was said, and what I believe is, number one, I made a mistake not using two different email addresses. I have said that, and I repeat it again today. It is certainly not anything that I ever would do again. I take classification seriously. I relied on and had every reason to rely on the judgments of the professionals with whom I worked. And so in retrospect, maybe some people are saying, well, among those 300 people, they made the wrong call. At the time, there was no reason, in my view, to doubt the professionalism and the determination by the people who work every single day on behalf of our country.
Let's talk about the Clinton Foundation.
So I don't know if you noticed in the first 30 or 45 seconds of that clip where they switch cameras on Hillary Clinton, and I think they cut out part of her answer or part of the question, or I don't know what they cut out because they did not upload to the Fox News website the entire unedited interview, so I can't really compare what they've shown here to the raw footage. But I'm going to show you an 18-second clip of what I'm talking about, where they switched the camera that they're using on Hillary Clinton, which is something I've seen them do, like I said, in this WMD video that I'll put a link down in the video description for the recorded show viewers, where they switch the angle that they're shooting the interview subject from to hide the the edit where they cut part of the interview out. And it's the only explanation for the fact that she says, what I said was truthful and consistent with what I told the American people, because it's pretty obvious from the way she phrases it that when she says truthful, she's talking about what she told the FBI, which is more important, like I said, than what she told the American people, because it's actually a crime to lie to the FBI. And here's that crucial 18 seconds where they change the camera they're using, I think, to hide an edit of Hillary Clinton's interview that no one's really talked about in the last week since this came out, and I'll talk about it here after you watch it yourself.
Were true.
Chris, that's not what I heard Director Comey say, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to, in my view, clarify. Director Comey said that my answers were truthful and what I've said is consistent with what I have told the American people. That there were...
So that's it. You see how they switch to that side view there, and that they make it very hard to tell that they cut part out. That's what my speculation. Like I said, I haven't seen the raw footage, but sorry, I switched to the picture of Sandy there. But Sandy was very concerned about that dishonest editing from Fox News. That must be why I showed that picture. But you can see what I'm talking about, that they switched the angle from right on her face to the side view to kind of hide the fact that they're editing out something that she was talking about having to do with, she was only what she told the FBI was truthful and it was consistent with what she told the American people. And I think that's like the talking point she prepared, because it's very lawyerly, and it's why people think she's not being completely honest and straightforward. But as a lawyer myself, I kind of understand that what she's saying is consistent with what she told the American people if you understand that she learned new information. Like she said, I never sent or received any classified information, and then later she found out, well, there was some classified information way down the email chain that wasn't marked classified, or wasn't marked classified in a way that anyone could have reasonably understood it was classified, which is what James Comey actually said, these little C markings that weren't the right way to mark something as classified, but there was classified material, but she didn't know about it, and that's why it's consistent with what she told the American people. It's like saying, at the time I knew, based on what I knew at the time, what I said was true, but now there's more information that came out, and of course she probably knew that information to begin with. I'm not saying that she's actually being honest, but I'm saying from a lawyer's point of view, there is a way to argue what she's saying is actually honest, despite, maybe possible incredulity on the part of people who've watched the Clintons for all these years. And it's one of those, it depends on what the meaning of is kind of defenses. And anyway, I wanted to point that out, but you can let me know what you think down in the comment section. And before I leave this whole topic of Hillary Clinton's email scandals, I want to point out that the press conference she gave on Friday, where she tried to clarify what she said in that Fox News Sunday interview with Chris Wallace that I now believe was kind of dishonestly edited, she said something that really made things worse, where that whole short circuit comment, I showed it in a previous clip, and it showed up on the Sunday morning news analysis shows, I think on every program, And two of them, I noticed, not only showed the clip of her saying it, but used it as a way to gratuitously attack a 1980s movie. Starting with, I'm going to start with the one on NBC's Meet the Press. I think actually Chuck Todd said this twice during the program, attacking the movie. And I actually kind of like this movie, as I will discuss after you watch that clip here.
What I told the FBI, which he said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly. So I may have short-circuited it, and for that, I, will try to clarify.
Short Circuit, bad 80s movie.
Well, yeah, and I mean, again, it's...
Short Circuit was a bad 80s movie? I mean, I actually kind of like that movie. Maybe, I don't know, I was kind of an Ali Sheedy fan back then, so maybe that biased me in favor of liking the movie. You can let me know what you think down in the comment section. Although, looking back on the 80s movie, one of the... that 80s movie, the thing that makes it kind of... a little dated is that they used a white person to play an Indian person. Fisher Stevens played an Indian guy, not a Native American, but an Indian from the country of India. And so maybe it wasn't that great a movie based on that weird, almost blackface portrayal of an Indian. But other than that, I kind of liked the movie Short Circuit, but that didn't stop Jake Tapper over on CNN State of the Union from calling it a bad Steve Guttenberg movie after showing the same clip you just saw on NBC over here.
I have short-circuited it, and for that, I, will try to clarify. I do think, having him say that my answers to the FBI were truthful, and then I should quickly add, what I said was consistent with what I had said publicly.
Short Circuit, not just a bad Steve Guttenberg movie from the 80s, also Hillary Clinton's explanation for why she keeps repeating a line that the Washington Post fact-checkers have given 4 Pinocchios. We're back with our panel.
So you can see there, Washington Post gave the clip from Fox News Sunday 4 Pinocchios, and I'm pretty sure it was dishonestly edited by Fox News, and no one has really reported on that. I think I showed it pretty clearly earlier, although that doesn't also justify the big attack on the 80s movie Short Circuit by both Jake Tapper and Chuck Todd. I don't know what that's all about, but I can't really be mad at Jake Tapper from CNN State of the Union today, because I noticed on my Twitter feed at twitter.com/LiberalViewer, if you look at both my tweets and replies, you'll see I replied to a Jake Tapper tweet, and Jake Tapper actually liked my tweet today. So that was a big moment for me, and I mentioned my wife in that tweet, so I got to show her, hey, look, Jake Tapper liked this tweet that I mentioned you in. But that's one of the big moments for people that watch the corporate media, the political junkies like me, although I mentioned that my wife is not such a political junkie, but still likes Jake Tapper's State of the Cartoonion, which I haven't taken a clip from in quite a long time. But this is a big tangent, not really on the topic of Hillary Clinton's email scandal. And like I said, I think that it was overblown, and Jake Tapper there kind of showed how it was overblown and didn't really notice that Fox News Sunday dishonestly edited what Hillary Clinton was talking about. But you can let me know what you think down in the comment section about that. And I have one final clip before I finish the broadcast tonight. This is from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, and this is from his new rule section, like the Julian Assange clip I showed earlier. Down in the video description, I put a link to the Real Time channel on YouTube, and his entire new rule, I can't remember what it's called, but this is the final new rule until he comes back in September, and they uploaded it to the Real Time YouTube channel so you can watch the entire thing. I'm going to show the first 3 minutes, but then there's a conclusion I'm not going to show, so if you want to see the conclusion, you can go look at it on YouTube, on the Real Time YouTube channel. This is Bill Maher talking about how he is willing to give up the legalization of marijuana as an issue if it is important in supporting Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. And so he thinks that transgender activists should also give up their issue so it doesn't become a wedge issue for Republicans. And I think it's a kind of a indicator of Bill Maher's white cis privilege, if I can use a social justice warrior term. I know people aren't going to like that, but I will explain what I mean after you watch that final clip of the broadcast over here.
New rule from now until Election Day, everything else, every issue, every fight, every cause has to take a backseat to defeating Trump. He's like an infection. You don't fool around with it. Look, we all have our issues that are important to us. And so just to lead by example, let me say that I will take my own close to the heart pet cause, pot legalization, off the table. And you know me, I have seeds in my urine. But you know that. But if someone told me that pushing for pot might cost Hillary Ohio until November 8th, I'm just going to shut the fuck up about it. Now, I know liberals are feeling pretty good about Hillary's chances this week, but history has taught us that Democrats are pretty good at blowing elections, and Republicans are masters at winning elections with solutions in search of a problem. And the problem they're imagining lately is that the transgendered, or sex fiends pretending to be transgendered, roam America's restrooms in drag, looking for a chance to watch people pee. Okay, here's what we can't do this election. Get tricked into symbolic fights about college campus pet peeves. Hillary, if someone asks you if Christmas is unfair to the disabled because the reindeer laugh at Rudolph's nose, just say, I don't care. I know we're liberals, and there's an infinite list of ideas for making the world better by making it less like Duck Dynasty. But there's no room for boutique issues in an Armageddon election. And look, I'm on the side of people peeing where they want. It's an inalienable right. I believe it was Patrick Henry who once said, nobody beats the whiz. And I'm not suggesting that we throw the transgendered under the bus or discount their struggle. It can't be easy finding pantyhose when you're 6'4". But this is exactly the kind of culture war issue that rousts a certain type of voter out of their trailers on Election Day. As we speak, Ann Coulter is finishing a new book called Urination: How Liberals Are Giving It to America in the Can.
So that was pretty funny, and like I said, I'm not showing the entire new rule from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, but on their YouTube channel that you can find down in the video description, you can watch the conclusion of that new rule where Bill Maher goes on to make his argument. But that part of the argument, I thought, you know, I'm a straight white cis male or whatever, but I thought that kind of showed his straight white cis male privilege, and I know this is gonna freak out a lot of my viewers who don't like even that type of terminology. But what he's saying there, I'm willing to give up my marijuana legalization fight if it would help elect Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. Of course, he lives in California. Here in California, we already have quasi-legalization and through medical marijuana, and Bill Maher's talked about how he actually has a medical marijuana card, so he doesn't have to worry about, you know, state action or being under threat or, you know, his own personal security. And so marijuana legalization isn't really going to affect the way he lives his life already in most ways, but the struggle for transgender rights would, I'm personally, like I said, like Bill Maher, I'm a straight, white, cisgender male, but I recently attended the launch of a campaign here in California called Transform California that is supposed to make California safer and more supportive of transgender rights. And I put a link down in the video description to I think it's like 43 minutes long. This was on the Capitol steps here in Sacramento, the Sacramento launch of Transform California, and there are a bunch of different speakers, some political bigwigs here in California, including the leader of the California Senate and the past leader of the California Senate, who's now mayor of Sacramento, and there are several transgender activists who spoke, and also an ACLU official, the Natasha Minsker, who leads the ACLU Sacramento office. I think it's called the California Center for Policy and Advocacy or something like that. So down in the video description, if you want to understand why the struggle for transgender rights is something that I think Hillary Clinton has to include in her campaign so she gets a mandate to actually finally get federal protection for people who identify, have different gender identities or gender expression. I think that should be federally protected, and Bill Maher is, by equating his fight for marijuana legalization to the fight for transgender rights, I think he doesn't quite understand how insecure people who have that particular gender identification, the struggles, he says, I don't want to throw them under the bus and discount their struggles to, the struggle to buy pantyhose for someone who's 6 feet tall or whatever, which is, he's joking about it, but of course he's a comedian, so I'm not going to really be harsh on him for that, but I wanted to point out the contrast between what Bill Maher is willing to give up in not stressing marijuana legalization and what he's asking people who are fighting for transgender rights to give up by not trying to make their struggle part of Hillary Clinton's mandate should she become the president of the United States. And I think Hillary Clinton is fairly comfortable, if she becomes president, trying to move the United States more in support of protecting the rights of people who have different gender identity and gender expression. And so I just wanted to make that criticism of Bill Maher there, and that's the last clip I want to show. If you like the clips I picked out for you, even for this shorter program this weekend, I hope you'll join my other patrons supporting me on Patreon. I put a link down in the video description for that. I wanted to let people know who are thinking of supporting me or who are already supporting me as patrons that I'm about to get my final shipment of these #LiberalViewer candles here that Paul Robinette, one of the early YouTube stars, on his Renetto channel, he made me these very nice #LiberalViewer candles. And I've been promising them to anyone who has a lifetime Patreon contribution of $30. And I've just ordered enough of these so that I will be able to fulfill that for all the current patrons who have not yet qualified but might qualify. I think there are like 30. I'll get another 30 or so of these candles. So if you really want one, you need to get your Patreon contribution up to $30 in the next couple months, and I'll be sending those out to people who are interested in that. And I think I mentioned several weeks ago that I would be having a reward system for Patreon patrons where I will give out stickers, I think, for people who pledge not $30, but I think it'll be in the $5 or $10 range. And I'm trying to increase my number of Patreon patrons by the end of the 2016 presidential election. If I can get that up to about $600 a month, I think I can continue making LiberalViewer videos for the foreseeable future. Right now it's about a little under $400 a month, and it's because the ad revenue's gone way down. If the YouTube ad revenue goes up, I might be able to continue with a little bit lower level. But anyway, I just thought I'd let you all know about that. And I also appreciate people who support my videos through direct, what's called YouTube fan funding. I got another nice contribution from someone in Orange, California after my broadcast last week. So if you want to do that, there's a little I here. If you live in one of the 4 or 5 countries where you can give YouTube fan funding, you can give me a direct contribution that's more anonymous than the Patreon patrons, because all I know about you if you support me that way is your zip code. That's why I know I got a nice contribution from someone in Orange, California last week, and someone who lived in Vermont the week before that. But I appreciate all those contributions supporting my videos, because it takes me about 10 hours to prepare this every week, and then another hour or two to broadcast it, and the YouTube ad revenue does not give me anywhere near even minimum wage. So it's these other funding sources that make it so that I at least get maybe $10 or $15 an hour for all the time I put in. And if you can't afford to support me financially, I also appreciate those who just leave the comments or give me the thumbs up or share me on social media in different ways, and that keeps my YouTube channel going. And I am definitely going to keep going through the November election, and then I'll reassess and look at how many patrons I have and how much YouTube fan funding I get every month, and then I'll decide whether LiberalViewer will have any future. And also I'll see who's elected. If Donald Trump's elected, I'll have so much material I'll have to keep going. If Hillary Clinton's elected, that's when I'll have to decide, is this something I want to keep doing, or am I making enough to justify to my family the amount of time I spend on making these videos? And anyway, I actually enjoy doing it. That's why I keep doing it. And if I can justify it as a use of my time based on the support I get from my fans out there like you, then I will keep doing it. And I hope to make some other edited, produced video this week. I have some different things that are, volunteer activism things that are going to take up some of my time, but whether or not I make another edited, produced video this week, I will be back next week. And until then, I guess I will see you all around the internet.